going to go ahead and get started. So my name is Matthew Kobach. I am your humble host. I am not the media expert. I am the person who will be narrating and just giving some background and making sure that this all goes according to plan. Also making sure that this all goes according to plan is Autumn. She is on this call to handle the webinar. And the real star of the show here is Ryan Kovac. He is our in-house expert media buyer. He's the one who's going to be telling you what his take is on this, giving you his opinion on what this data means, and also share a few tactics. One thing I do want to call out is we want to make sure that this is somewhat interactive. We're going to keep exploring what this format exactly looks like. We're going to be doing this every Monday. So maybe it is something where we let more people on stage, or we try to answer questions in real time, or we try to have real conversations. For this week, what we're going to do is we're going to limit questions to the question feature here. So if you want to go in the Q&A, the chat, whatever it might be, to post those, put those in there. We'll try to answer them. We'll try to talk to them. And also with a caveat that media buying, data, all this stuff, it's directional. Like there isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer. So if you have a different opinion, it might mean that you're interpreting the data differently. It might mean you have a different product. It might mean a number of things. So what we want to stress is that all this data, all this information, even Ryan's expert opinion, is meant to be directional. It's meant to help you make better decisions, help you make more informed decisions, help you make smarter decisions. With that, let's go ahead and get started. So first thing I want to call out before we even get into the data, I just want to level set some of the data that we're seeing here in terms of like what exactly this means. So one key call out here is month over month. You'll see the data here is month over month. What that means is we're just comparing the most recent 30 days with the last 30 days. You might also see us share data that is week over week. That's the same thing. It's what did the data do this week? What was the difference between the data this week and the data last week? Or you might even see year over year. Something else you'll see in especially our newsletter is the word delta. And all that really means is change. So when you see something that says percent change, it's not to say like right here, our cost per click, 2%, even though that doesn't make any sense. But when you see something like that, what that means is that's how much it's changed from the week before. So let's say that we have a, click conversion rate is 19%. Say that you see conversion rate increase 19%. That doesn't mean conversion rate actually is 19%. It means that it possibly went from 5% to 6%. So just want to call that out, that no one's making any decisions based on what they perceive as a really high click-through rate, for example. And then lastly, we also talk about budget allocation. This one can be a little hard to fully explain in a graph. What this means is this is the percentage of a company's ad budget that goes to a specific platform. So it's always out of 100%. So let's say that 60% of their ad budget is going to Facebook, and 20% is going to Google, and 10% is going to TikTok, and another 10% is going to Twitter. That's what that means when you see those numbers, and that's averaged across all of our brands. And then you'll also see the change in that. So are people spending a little bit more on Facebook? Are they spending a little bit less on Facebook? Are they spending more on TikTok? This is a really good way to understand kind of what the trends are platform by platform. So are people running away from one platform and flocking to another, or vice versa? So we find that information very useful as well. So what I want to do here on this first screen is just call out some of the numbers that are a little bit higher. And I also want to call out the green and the red. You'll see sometimes here that green is up, and you'll see other times that green is down. An easy way to remember this is whenever you look at any of our data, green means good. So for example, ROAS being up is good for us media buyers. So we want to see green, but cost per clicks, we actually want to see those lower. That means we're able to get more bang for our buck. So you'll see green being down there. Same with CPMs. So whenever you're looking at this, just make sure that you're kind of understanding what these mean, what these color-coded numbers are trying to tell you. So some quick call outs here when you're looking at ROAS is relatively flat among all the major platforms, except the call outs here would be Pinterest and YouTube. You can see ROAS numbers are dramatically up there month over month. So that's comparing halfway through March through, January and February. One other note, if you look over at the cost per clicks, you can see similar stuff in Pinterest, those numbers going down along with TikTok. With the other ones staying relatively flat. And then CPMs, if you look at Microsoft, the CPMs are going higher. I would suspect this is a product of ChatGPT, but again, I am not the expert. I will leave that to people like Ryan to pontificate on. And you also see Pinterest up as well as YouTube. So we'll go to the next slide here where we have a lot more data. Now, I'm not going to go through all this data here. I'm just going to leave this on screen. And before I hand it over to Ryan, one thing that I want to call out is all this data is being pulled from our newsletter. So if you want this data, you want to sit with it on your screen, you want to get it in your mailbox, absolutely sign up for our newsletter. It's really simple, northbeam.io/newsletter. You get all this information every week sent directly to your inbox. And every Monday, we sit and we talk about it. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Ryan. I know that he had some observations really quickly about Facebook to kick us off.
Yeah, thanks for having me, fellow Northbeam team. Pleasure to chat through this data. I think the newsletter has been a really cool way to, one, just have another resource of, hey, are we alone? CPMs just jumped up 10% for us on this channel. Is that normal, right? So having that guardrails, if you will, is very helpful for me, and I'm excited that we're able to get this out here. On the Facebook side of things, just visibility across a lot of dollars moving and shaking, and then my own background is extensively working with Facebook ads. I'm seeing a lot of creative fatigue, and this is something that I don't think is totally atypical. I always view this moment in time as almost an in-between season. For a lot of brands, we're right after a Valentine's Day push, right? So a big promotional effort for a lot of brands, and we're almost right before spring hits, and kind of creative, all the messaging will change and all that good stuff. And so I always view this kind of 2-week stretch, first couple of weeks of March, is focusing on a creative refresh, right? When I see click-through rates down across the board, but conversion rates in CPA are roughly about stable, it's like, okay, Facebook is still justifying their percentage of budget share, but the opportunity a lot of brands have, and what I see is creative can use a refresh. What a lot of brands will do is post sale, they'll just kind of go back and turn on some previous winners, or maybe holding them over till the next season. I would argue that getting in some refresh creative now can be great. I always love this period for trying to find your next big evergreen piece of creative that gets all those shares and comments and all that good stuff, and get that into the ecosystem.
So this isn't just so I'm following along. I'd like to pretend like I'm the novice media buyer, because I very much am. So this is something that is not unique to 2023. This is something you've seen 2022, 2021, 2019. Go back. This is just that time of year where people are slightly in different moods, so the same creative isn't necessarily hitting. So you just got to kind of speak to a more current kind of time that they're in.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I'm a big believer in waves in marketing, right? And if Valentine's Day is a big wave, and not everybody can kind of attach themselves to the St. Patrick's Day wave, if you will, it's a time for refreshing things and starting to think about the next wave, which is that turn of the season. The other thing I'm just doing anytime click-through rates are a little bit low is I'm very much leveraging my first time performance metric. So whether that be ROAS or CAC, CPA, inside of our tool, we have the ability to granularly look at campaigns, ad set, and ad levels on a first time basis. And especially around any time we're in these in-between seasons, if you just turn on all the evergreen ads, you can end up just catching purchases inside of the platform from returning folks. So I love that toggle, plop that column right next to how you're making a decision. First time performance can help a lot. The other thing
would you recommend, just before I want to double click on this, so if I've got an evergreen ad, does it matter how old it is? If this was a winner of mine 18 months ago, is it still okay to put it live now as long as it doesn't look 18 months old?
Yeah, it's one of those things where test it, run it. If it's tried and true, right? Every account is a little bit different. But I generally see around this time where evergreens are a little bit less effective, right? And I'd suspect if it's an evergreen ad you've had for 18 months, what we need to be doing is drumming up new types of eyeballs. Instead of just getting the same ad in front of somebody's feed, we kind of want to engage them on a different decision-making plane, if you will. Give them a different reason to buy right now. And so that's always on my mind.
So as you say, it's not even, so part of it is new creative, but it's almost like think about new value props, think about a new hook, something that might like, you tried selling it from X perspective, but you also have features, Y, Z, and A, B, and C. Test out some of those.
Exactly that. The brands I think are doing a really good job now are adjusting their creative with new hooks that are built into the spring season coming up, right? Like whether it be camping or getting back outside, like those types of hooks and value props are a great way to kind of fight some of this creative fatigue. And that's why like a similar phenomenon is why like I pontificate about Pinterest doing pretty well right now, right? Like as the season changes over there, home decor and spring cleaning, all those types of demos that routinely hang out on Pinterest, there's a much higher affinity for right now. Like those folks tend to be more in market. So like on here, we have Pinterest click-through rate climbing and the AOV on Pinterest climbing and the conversion rate on Pinterest climbing. And it's one of those things where not everybody is able to serve ads efficiently on Pinterest at scale, if you will. But if your demo plays with Pinterest, especially around the springtime, this is right where I'd be trying to test the waters over there.
Have you seen have you seen brands do this in the past? Is this something that you see them take advantage of, or are you like, like shaking your fist going, this is the time, like get on Pinterest right now? What are you doing?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I always think like anytime the season change, right, in market affinities will adjust and you want to try and capture that. But what is unique on Northbeam right now is folks are testing the waters there more significantly, right? Mm-hmm. And I expect that percentage of budget share probably climbs up for us piece by piece. But the few brands that are winning over there, there's like, it's in my head, there's two different types. Number one, for both types, most folks who are winning are verified merchants, right? So you can do the shoppable pins, like you set up through that path. And I very rarely see any brands like spending significant scale where they're not a verified merchant. So I want to get that piece hooked up in there. And then the two types of brands I kind of think about over there. One is almost if you're selling like an innovative product, right? Maybe it's commodity, but you have a unique value feature to it. Those brands, if they're driving to kind of the blog post style listicle, they're doing the 5 tips or the secret reasons that you didn't know that like, hey, you should be thinking about this household product in this way. And when they send to blog post, listicle, and what I really like from a few brands is they do a really, really big call to action, right? So if innovative feature benefits for your product, really strong, massive graphic for a call to action for a product on that listicle with a bunch of reviews underneath that. And I'm actually seeing that path to purchase work pretty well. So that's brand one. If you have a product that has some innovative features, but there's another.
Do you mind, even before we go there, do you mind talking about that customer journey a little bit? Like, because I think if you're from the outside, it's kind of like, oh, I just need to like target the right person. And I need to like have the right creative. But to you, it's like, yes, you need to target the right person and you need to have the right creative and you need to have the right landing page. You just talk through all 3 of those things and how you think about it.
Yeah, totally. And if you're somebody who's selling apparel, right? Or maybe you're selling jewelry or something that's kind of like there's not that much consideration before you go and buy. Is the shirt look cool to you? Do you think you'd look good in it? Is it good, a cool lid? For those folks, you can, what I've seen work really well is sending directly to product pages, right? Static images, directly to product pages, lifestyle images, even a little bit. Don't need to do too much like educating on why this shirt or piece of jewelry is awesome, right? But for other brands, maybe it's like a toilet paper brand that the toilet paper is the most organic toilet paper ever, right? Like what you'd want to do is you'd want to like, here's why this matters, right? Like 5 tips or 5 secret reasons old school toilet paper is doing you wrong, right? And then you do a little bit of education on that. You weave in those same complaints that you hear that your customers love your product for. And that's when you educate them with the blog post, and then you hit them with a really strong offer at the end, reinforce it with a bunch of testimonials. And that path for those type of brands, I've seen be more effective. So always worth auditing of like, how much consideration do I need for folks to make a purchase, right? Do I need to get them learning, or do I just need to show them my good stuff close up?
Yeah, and it probably has a lot to do with the cost of the actual product. Like the more cost, the longer I'm going to consider and research and stuff. Then it has to do with like how I'm using it. Like there's something emotional likely about jewelry and clothes. It's it's more feel than it is story. And you could argue that like clothes and jewelry, some of them have a story. Depends who makes it, depends what the quality is, depends is it domestic or international, that stuff. But yeah, it's
Speaking
really good
broadly.
point.
Yeah, speaking broadly, everybody hopefully has a story and something they're focusing on and beefing up, but some more than others.
Yeah, one thing I want to talk about is that we mentioned a little bit is this budget share. So if you look at kind of the bottom middle here, Facebook is huge, but we were talking about moving stuff to Pinterest a little bit. Can you just speak on one, Facebook/Meta being the behemoth here, and other platforms possibly rising during this time period?
Yeah, totally. So the Facebook side of things, they continue to be the mainstay, right? And anytime we're getting squeezed over there, just trying to audit, like, what's their ad inventory look like? Can they continue to sustain all this, all that good stuff? And a big piece that they're pushing, and I know Northbeam is rolling out some features for this as well, is Facebook Shops. And I've seen hit or miss, but like on the in order for them to continue justifying this big a budget share, I'd pontificate that they need to nail shops, right? And so there's a handful of brands we work with that those Advantage Plus campaigns with shopping in them, right, are actually driving really good performance. So I know we're working hard on deploying Facebook shop metrics in there, and it's something I suspect is probably going to continue to trend higher on how much of any given campaign type like that goes to the Facebook shop action. But what's interesting to me over on Facebook is they just kind of de-incentivize some of their IG Reel creators, right? And that's not the exact same as Facebook ads, right? Meta ads. But when they do that, I pay attention. And where I expect some of those eyeballs from Instagram Reels to flow is to a place like YouTube, right? And to a place like YouTube Shorts. And so, yes, Facebook continues to get the biggest percentage of our budget, right? But as they make changes and make those changes to the Reels policies, I am paying attention to YouTube. And there's some brand, like there's a handful of brands doing a really good job with remarketing on YouTube Shorts, right? And I think that's a direct kind of reason why there's more eyeballs on YouTube Shorts right now. And so I always feel if you've been getting any success with IG Reels, or you've been getting any success with TikTok, it's worth testing out some YouTube specifically for Shorts. If you're light on budget, start with remarketing and just see if you can get any conversions there. But is worth exploring.
Are there any industries or product categories that you're seeing work better on YouTube Shorts?
Yeah, not as granular as I'm seeing Pinterest, where it's like two different paths, right? I am seeing a little bit for all folks. What seems to be working well over there is explainer vids, right? Like strong hook in the beginning, overlay with banners when you're mentioning like you finally get to the deal, right? If you're selling a really sturdy, a hat or something, dropping it into the fire and then picking it back up and trying to add some remarkability in those first couple frames. But there does seem to be a trend up on the Shorts front, and it's difficult for brands to make, bespoke creative for all these other channels. But if you have any Instagram Reel wins or you have any TikTok, worth a test over on YouTube.
Yeah. Are you seeing a lot of are you seeing brands be successful specifically in this TikTok style ad? So Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, that does feel very user generated or feels low budget. Like does creative budget matter?
Yeah, what's interesting, I almost, I'll explain it like this. On TikTok, I never see kind of your standard, I'm the owner, here's an explainer video, here's the full story of our brand, and it's like this polished video that's on a 16:9, maybe you've cropped it, but kind of given the 2-minute story. I never see those work on TikTok. I sometimes see them work on YouTube Shorts. So I think there is this like middle ground on YouTube Shorts where you can get away with kind of the classic explainer stuff, but you can also use the green screen style over there. It's this nice little hybrid ground of if you have a good looking asset, it's worth a test because of that.
Yeah. That's interesting. I suspect, and I don't want to be putting words in your mouth, so tell me if my suspicion is wrong, but it's YouTube kind of has trained people to be more okay or more accustomed to seeing a video like that. When you're on YouTube, seeing something that's a little longer, a little more in depth, like that makes sense. And TikTok feels in and out. And if you don't grab me right away, there's a million other videos that I can watch instantly. Is that kind of what your observation is?
Yeah, totally. I always think of Facebook for years trying to train folks on the IG shop, right? Like I'm a believer in these big ad platforms are trying to train their users on habits, and I think YouTube is done a good job of like, hey, you can come here and watch a 5-minute video. I've actually seen like some brands do a really good job with like 10-minute long Instagram lives where they're like demoing the product and talking about that and running that on YouTube Shorts and it working really well. So if you have a brand that's ever going live on Instagram or TikTok, even if it's a 5-10 minute long video, can be worth a test on YouTube, where like TikTok doesn't even let you run that long, right? So a little bit different.
Super interesting. It's because you hear all the time that like attention spans are nothing, attention spans are short, and they're just getting shorter and shorter and shorter. It's not that attention spans are shorter, it's that the platform that you're messaging on dictates the attention span.
Yeah, and you still got to do a good job, right? Like you still got to like hook in the beginning and like tease them in and keep their attention. But like, if you don't do an A+ job on that on TikTok, they're gone in half a second. YouTube, you have a little bit more wiggle room.
Cool. So my goal is to make this 20 minutes. We're already past 20 minutes, but I'm definitely not going to go past 2 p.m. Eastern. So I want to give you a few minutes to talk any specific tactics. I know that you're seeing a lot of brands do specific things without naming any names, talking very generally. If you do you have any kind of like nitty gritty specifics that you could share that you're seeing work really well?
Yeah, I mentioned a few in there. Generally, it was a little shocking to me, but statics on Pinterest seem to be more effective when I'm auditing brands. And what some brands will do is they'll do like a video carousel, but then make all the images static. So like there's something there with the statics driving even more effectiveness on that channel. I do see that every winner on Pinterest is verified merchant and getting those shoppable pins. On the YouTube side of thing, shorts and remarketing, that's where I'd start for a lot of brands. I'm seeing a lot of effectiveness outside of shorts, but just enabling that display targeting, if you will. And like I mentioned in the beginning, like some of this seasonality, some brands, the in-market audiences have changed, right? Home decor, spring cleaning. If you're in that demo, I would very much consider switching to some in-market keywords and targeting those types of audiences over there. Some true view, some discovery, but for the most part, optimizing for that purchase action, enabling display, and going down that route. And what else sticks out? I do love the listicle on if you're not a apparel or jewelry and you need to do consideration drumming up, try the listicle action if you have content and landing pages available to you. And I think those are the ones top of mind.
Yeah, good. All great ideas. I want to wrap up. I want to not steal any more of your time, and I want to thank you very much for being so generous with your time. Before we go, I do want to say this: if you are a Northbeam customer and you have some questions that we didn't answer here, or you didn't just want to ask, that's completely fine. What I want you to do is just reach out to your customer success rep. Say that you watched this webinar and that you had some follow-up questions. We're more than happy to answer. And if you are not a current Northbeam customer and you saw this and you thought this was helpful and you still have questions, go to our website, book a demo, and what we can do is walk through any and all of this with you to make sure that if something like Northbeam is the right product for you, that we're able to answer the questions that you might have. The last plug I'll give is make sure to sign up for our newsletter if you thought this information was helpful. It's just northbeam.io/newsletter. Thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you so much, Autumn. And we'll see everyone here next Monday. Thank you very much, everyone.